Hello, everyone. This is April 17th, 2026. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And this is a spot of tea. Every time I come on and get to talk with you, history is it's just running like a film going on. Remember those old films with the cops? They used to call them something I can't remember. We're losing all our language on very interesting golden age of movies. Keystone Cops, and they would move around real fast. Well, that's how history seems to be going. It's just too much to grasp. Um, but here we are. One of the reasons why I'm addressing you today is because on this Friday, we're on the cusp of things that have been unleashed that will change the world forever. And for us in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we also face the very survival of our ability to hold accountable people in government that we voted in, and we may never be able to vote them out because they're rigging they're rigging the maps in such a way that even if you're a disaffected Democrat and the Democrats in power who are not being held accountable do things that will harm you and your family, and you say, you know what, I think it's about time, maybe we should just consider voting for the best person for the job. Well, good luck getting rid of these people because you can't. They're going to, through this gerrymandering, redistrict opposition and accountability right out of existence. Going extinct will be Libertarian Party, groups that support opposition to the extreme radical positions of the Democrat Party, religious groups, parental rights groups, business groups, Chamber of Commerce groups, veterans groups. All of these groups, Tea Party, will be wiped out in terms of having significant influence through the vote because they will have spread out and diffused opposition through Northern Virginia. Everything goes through Northern Virginia. So the most corrupt, the most insane, the most irresponsible area of Virginia, which is concentrated in Northern Virginia, will dictate the politics and will dictate who gets elected, who doesn't, for the rest of the state. So over almost 50% of the Virginian citizens will have no voice and will be disenfranchised. That's how just the Democrats roll. This is going to be the last spot of tea before that fateful day in Tuesday when we see the results of the election. I am very concerned because of the results of the last election. I don't have any faith in the people of this state being able to make a sane or credible decision on the direction of this Commonwealth. They voted in one of the worst slates in terms of governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And don't give me this stuff about voters' remorse. There's no way that you can justify voting for a people that have no they did not have any kind of name recognition. And so you were just going by the party, but the party that you voted for has demonstrated itself to be a clear and present danger to the entire nation with their open borders policy, their war against the police to protect us, their excessive and almost comical support of criminal, illegal aliens who they wished to do everything in their power to keep them in our country and continue to allow them to operate slave trade, children trafficking, kidnapping, drug trafficking, almost any other crime under the sun. And they do this without apologies. And then they attack the very police force that we have to be able to remove them, to the point of defunding them. The very people that they brought into this country in the first place. They've done great damage to this country. They stopped our energy independence. We were energy independent. They shut down our pipelines. These people, if they were controlled by the communist Chinese or the Islamic terrorists, I don't know how they would act any differently in terms of the amount of damage that they got away doing. And yet, this group, this slate, was voted on not because of name recognition or any achievement by any of these candidates. They were voted simply because they were Democrats. The Republicans actually had a slate that was extremely credible. They had a history of success, surpluses, protecting the police, protecting us from illegal aliens, working with ICE, economic boon in this state, bringing in businesses to this state, protecting right to work, protecting parental rights, protecting religious rights, protecting the citizens from crime, across the board, positive, no scandals. And yet, the Virginians voted for the Democrat Party against their own interests. Excuse me if I don't have much faith in the voters of Virginia at this point. You know, the Democrats, because of the indictment on the judgment on the in terms of voting of the Virginian people, Virginian citizens, that they didn't have to really do much to win on this redistricting power grab. But, you know, they started off with 5 million, which was like overkill. 5 million for such a little thing, they're going to win automatically. They have the elections rigged forever, from now to forever. But a funny thing happened on the way to rigging these elections. They found that they couldn't move that needle. For some reason, Virginians started to vote in record numbers on an off-year election, a special election kind of thing, to protect our voting rights and to stop the Democrats from rigging this. By the way, this whole process is illegal. Illegal. The courts, which I believe are corrupt, could not come up with a way for them to be able to do these things legally. So it went to the courts. And one of our courts found it, of course, illegal. Their wording was misleading and advocating their position. That's illegal. So the whole ballot should be thrown out. Plus, they violated the 90-day limit in which they can present this change in the Constitution. They brought this up during the middle of an election where almost 1 million people had already voted. So that's 3 laws that they violated. There may be more. But and of course, this is a constitutional amendment, not temporary. There's nothing temporary. Nothing says temporary than a constitutional amendment. Don't you agree? Well, the Democrats are hoping that you would agree. And nothing says fair than having a Democrat power grab that sees 9 seeds, 9, or 10 congressional seats to the Democrat Party and 1 to the Republican Party. So the wording's all misleading. So all of this stuff is illegal. The courts, in their infinite wisdom, knowing that something illegal was about to be perpetrated, they could have stopped the process and not have the citizens have to go through this mess of voting for something that's the whole process is already illegal. And they could have spared us this, which is their duty. But no, instead of doing that, they decided to postpone the hearing of the case, until after the election. What does that tell you about our courts? And this is the Supreme Court. And they overturned a lower court that did the right thing to attempt to stop this based on the fact that it was unlawful, illegal. So now, Spanberger, who before this initiative was very clear that gerrymandering was a threat to democracy. I guess It's not a threat to democracy if the Democrats do it, because that's what she's now the face of this thing. She's a liar. And she also moved to take away the vote for the first time ever in Virginia. Can't imagine how Thomas Jefferson would feel about this, but to take away the vote of every single Virginian in the state by tying us to the popular vote. So if we all voted for a particular candidate, let's say every single 8 million Virginians voted for a single candidate, a certain candidate, unanimous. But California and New York added their voices in, and because they are a popular state, the popular vote was provided. Someone else ended up, the other candidate ended up winning with the popular vote. Do you know that we would be disenfranchised? That our vote wouldn't count? That's what she did. And so we become like the 18th state to pass this. It's all unconstitutional. It takes away the protections of the minority. This is one of the reasons why we had such trouble in the very beginning establishing this country, because we had very highly populated states that would destroy and devour the interests of the smaller states. That's why we came up with the Electoral College, to provide that balance so that all voices could be heard. So we know where the Democrats in Virginia stand on this. So they don't care. There's no accountability. They're thinking, as they pour this horror show, extreme radical legislation, and just spew it out, that they've already won. Their gamble is that, well, I know all this stuff is Marxist, totalitarian, radical, extreme, harmful to the state, but it's something that we like, and we're not going to be held accountable because people are going to vote yes on our rigging of the electoral map. The people who have become Democrat leaders in 2026, they're a whole different animal. They're an alien creature to what Democrats were just in the past century, just a quarter of a century ago. The transition was occurring then. The thugs, the insane perverts, the radicals, the Marxists, the communists, all of them were fighting the good Democrats that were in the party. And when we entered into this century, the nasty mob of radicals took over and were able to purge the good Democrats out. So that's why you see open borders. That's why you see perversion parades. That's why you see men in women's locker rooms and competing in women's sports. That's why you see open borders. That's why you see attacks on the police. That's why you have this bizarre, insane obsession over pronouns. That's why the assault on biology in the Constitution. That's why you see anything that helps America, anything that makes America great again, is being attacked and countered with everything they got by the Democrat Party. Anything that you see that harms America, you see the Democrats embracing, like protecting cartels and illegal aliens and looters and thugs and warlords on the streets of America. You see them protecting all manner of really bad things that hurt families, communities, society, hurt schools, education. So I don't know what we're going to do, except either way, whatever happens on Tuesday, we're going to remain in the fight. We're not going to be chased out. We're going to help good people get elected. We're going to help expose the bad people and why they are harmful. Their policies are harmful to our state and to the country. We're going to continue to fight. One last thing. We have an incredible, special, unique, consequential celebration coming up. We have our summit June 20th. We have our lineup that's almost solidified now. America 250 Summit. We celebrate. We'll celebrate our 250th year, and this one is going to be a celebration of you. the patriots, the winter warriors that have fought to protect this country during really dark times in the last decade and a half. Details coming soon. Check our website and get tickets soon. We have special events lined up for this, including a very unique performance that you will like and remember. So for the Tea Party, this is the chairman of the Tea Party, Nelson Velez, bidding you a good weekend.
Take a stand for your state, take a stand for your home, and vote no. Get it done by April 21. Just say no. Cast a big vote no.